Oh, sorry, I was on mute. So we'll start in a minute. Till then, please get your friends as well. Then we can have a more interactive session and we'll cover different topics related to full stack development. Just a minute. Hello everyone, welcome to the session on Full Stack Developer Roadmap for Beginners. So today we'll be talking about if you're looking for a software development job, what are the things that you should do to learn development, because development is a very essential part uh, of job search. Basically, if you don't have development projects, then it is very difficult to get your resume shortlisted. So there are a few things that you can do to get your resume shortlisted. Basically, being very good at CP, which most people cannot do. Being from a tier one college, which is also something that has already been written for you. Then doing very good open source contribution, which you may or may not try. And the final one being doing full stack development or doing Android development or doing iOS development. But full stack development is something that I recommend because it's easier to get started and it's easier to demo your projects as well. So without further ado, let's start. And before we start, I have two announcements to make today. The first announcement is that tomorrow we are doing a resume review session on YouTube. So if you're interested in that, if you want to get your resume reviewed, you can do so by checking. So we have a resume review link on our website. Arvind, if you can put it on chat, that would be great. So just put your resume on our website through that link, and your resume can get reviewed in tomorrow's session or maybe another session that we do in the coming days. Okay, so let's start. So a bit about me. I'm the co-founder of workat.tech and have previously worked at Microsoft and Flipkart, and currently trying to make sure that everyone gets into a good product-based company through workat.tech, which is an online learning platform where people can learn how to code, basically upskill themselves through full stack development projects and problem solving DSA, and then become software engineers at product-based companies. So before we move ahead, before we start the full stack development roadmap, I would ask you to just subscribe to the channel if you have not done it already, because we are planning to go live every single day in the next few days, and we are also coming up with recorded content pretty soon, and that will also include technical topics. So Arvind has put the resume review link in chat. You can sign up from there. So let's start full stack development roadmap for your first SG job. So this does not include the entire roadmap. This includes the roadmap that will help you get your first SG job, because learning full stack development will take you years. But I guess you don't have that much time in hand before getting your first SD job. So this roadmap should help you with that. So let's get started. So I'll cover a few things today. First is how to get started with front-end development. So full stack development basically consists of two major things. First is front-end development. Second is back-end development. So we'll start by learning full stack development. Sorry, front-end development. We'll start with the very basics that includes HTML, CSS, JavaScript. I have added free resources for each of the things that I'm covering here. I've put the links uh, in the slides itself, and I'll share the slides link with you towards the end of the session. Arvind will put it in chat towards the end of the session. So we'll first learn about how to learn HTML, CSS, and JavaScript and why it is very important. Then we'll see how you can learn React. So these two things, if you do that, you would become a pretty good front end developer. but you cannot become a developer without building projects. So we'll also be talking about importance of building projects. We'll also learn about Express.js and MongoDB, which basically is how we can learn backend and build our backends in the full stack projects that we create. And then we'll also talk about a few things that you need to learn for interviews. So development won't be the only thing that you need to learn for interviews. There are a few more things that you'll have to learn, and we'll talk about that. So I've already done the first announcement, which is resume review. You can do that through the link that is present in chat. So before we start, if possible, please hit the like button because YouTube algorithms love it and it will recommend it to more people. Without that, you guys are the only one who is going to see it. So please hit the like button. So let's start with getting started with front-end development. So first thing, learn HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. How to learn that and why to learn that? Let's talk about that. So most people, how they start front-end development is they just jump to React or some other library, maybe Angular, maybe Vue.js. Do not do that. Start with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript because that forms the base of everything. If you know that, learning React or any other frameworks becomes much easier because in React also you are actually writing JavaScript code, you are using HTML tags, you are writing CSS for the styles. So knowing it is pretty important. So start with that. CSS is very, very difficult. You must have seen a lot of memes on that as well. Uh, it's very, very difficult. Like even after 5 to 7 years of experience, people face difficulties in writing CSS because it's that difficult. But do not directly jump to Tailwind or Bootstrap because that's what most people do. Most people start their journey with Bootstrap and never learn CSS. Do not do that because in the job you'll have to write CSS. The Bootstrap or Tailwind won't be enough for you on your job. So you'll need to know how to write CSS. Also, in certain kinds of interviews like UI machine coding round, you have to build a small project in 1.5 to 2 hours using just HTML, CSS, JavaScript. You cannot use any framework or library for that. That's why learning HTML, CSS, JavaScript is very, very important. So start with that, and like just like any other language or technology, do not wait to complete it. So people wait to complete JavaScript before they start building projects. Do not do that. While you are learning JavaScript, learn, do projects, do assignments, do anything that you can, so that whatever you're learning, you are using it as well at the same time. JavaScript is very, very big, so it will take you years to learn JavaScript very well. So do not go into that trap. Start building while you are learning. So that's my advice here. So that's the thing about learning HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Let's look at a few free resources that are there. Uh, so for JavaScript, there's this website called MDN, which is by Mozilla. So there you can find first steps, building blocks, and objects that will help you learn the JavaScript language. So JavaScript language is just like any other language. It has nothing to do with web, the thing that I'm talking about. So the web part will be covered later, but just learn the JavaScript language first. So you'll get access to all of these links towards the end of the bootcamp. Towards the end of this session. I'll share the link to the slides where you'll be able to access these. So first steps, building blocks and objects, you will get that in the MDN website. For HTML, we have already created a list of links from the MDN website itself. So it's a detailed curriculum that you can follow to learn HTML. Then comes CSS basics. CSS is also very huge. So we only need to learn basics and intermediate to get a job. On the job, you can learn the advanced stuff as well. Or if you are appearing for senior front-end roles, then you'll have to learn advanced CSS as well. So CSS basics also we have already listed down all the things. You'll get access to that. JavaScript DOM and events, very, very important. That's how you interact with the web. That's how your JavaScript interacts with the HTML or the CSS that you have. Basically, that's how the JavaScript works in your browser. So DOM and events, very, very important topics. Same links from MDN are present here. All of these resources are free. You can go through them whenever you want to. CSS intermediate, this contains specificity selectors, writing CSS which makes your website work well in mobile phones as well as desktop applications. Then creating beautiful websites. That's what CSS intermediate covers. Then web basics. This is an article that I have written. This will help you understand how the web works, how what happens when you open a website, and all of those stuff. So you'll get access to that link. Async JavaScript. This is how uh, most of the modern websites work. There's some asynchronous code that is there. I'm sure you won't understand this right now if you haven't done web development before. So once you go through these links, you'll get an idea. Async JS and using fetch, both of these are MDN links. So these free resources should be more than enough to learn HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, whatever is required for the job. But you need to use these to build projects also. That I'll be talking about later. So before I move ahead, any questions? Uh, okay. Okay, so I don't see any questions that I can pick up right now. If you have any questions related to these things like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, please ask on chat and I'll pick it up. So moving ahead, learning React. React is the framework, sorry, the library that is used across the industry, across the tech industry. That's the most used front-end library in most of the tech companies that you will come across. Like if you join as a front-end developer at any of the companies in India, there's a very, very high chance that they use React as their front-end library. So almost all tech companies, modern tech companies actually use that from early stage startups like us to the biggest tech companies in the world like Microsoft and Facebook all use React. So Vue is also a very popular framework that has come up. But React, you can be very sure about going ahead with React. Why? Because React already has a very big community and it is built by Facebook. So the Facebook and the open source community are actively building React and making it much better and better with time. So and it's not going anywhere because it has the backing of Facebook. And Microsoft is also hugely backing React. Microsoft uses React and React Native a lot in the code base. So React is not going anywhere. So you can safely bet on it and learn it. And same thing with React as well, which I talked in case of JavaScript. Do not wait to learn React completely. Just while you're learning, start building or start solving assignments just so that you get the hang of it, just so that you know how to actually use it and not learn it as a theoretical concept. So that's about React. We can talk more about it if you have any questions on that. Uh, So for free resources for React is mostly the React documents, the React docs by the Facebook team or the React team. So first one is getting started, which is basically covers the very basics of React, just to make you understand how React is working. Main concepts covers the major concepts that make up React, like the things that you actually need to know if you want to start working with React. Hooks is a new concept, not very old, maybe 2 years. It was introduced by the React team. Uh, Still, not all companies are using hooks right now. So uh, basically, you can skip this as well. But I recommend you that if you have some time, then learn hooks as well to get more in depth into how React works and how you can use React to create websites. For React hooks, this is also a pretty good tutorial by Ben Award. I've seen it briefly and I found it to be pretty good. So you can go through that as well to learn React hooks. So go to this only after you have learned the main concepts of React. So before going ahead, any questions? Okay, so I can see one question related to Vue.js. So Vue.js is also pretty popular, but I think React is what you can go ahead with because most the major companies in India work with React. Any good resource for React already mentioned here? How to start with JS? Basically, you follow the resources that I mentioned, or maybe pick up some tutorial that you would want to. How is Angela U web development course? I'm not really sure. I haven't gone through it as of now. Angular is better, React is better. I think right now React has React is something which most companies are using, so go ahead with React. What's your view on Svelte? I haven't explored it yet, but I have heard good things about it. So, like, no first-hand experience, so I cannot comment on it. Is class-based component essential while learning React, or is there so like companies, many companies still use class-based components. Like we ourselves still use class-based component. So definitely need to learn that because in an interview you can expect being asked about class-based component because companies are still using it. So correct order to learn would be first HTML, CSS, JS, and then React Native. Yes. First get the basics right, then move to React. Is React enough or need to be strong in Redux too? React is enough. Redux is something that you can avoid. Basically, if your company is using Redux, then learn Redux, otherwise not required. What would be the normal amount of time to learn HTML, CSS, JavaScript? In a bootcamp, we do HTML, CSS, JavaScript for 5 weeks, and 5 weeks means that approx 25 hours per week into five. So approx 100 hours. This includes uh, the classes as well as the assignments that you get. So if you want to do it well, that much amount of time would be good enough. I started learning React but stuck in tutorial hell. I'll cover about hell towards the end when I talk about projects. If I am just okay with React.js, then is it okay to use Next.js in my project? Yes. It's just that use like build projects that's more important. Class-based components are much cleaner as compared to functional-based. So basically, where there's no state, I prefer functional components, but I haven't used hooks enough to comment on this thing. Okay, so I guess I've picked up all the questions related to whatever we have covered as of now. Uh, if you have more questions or if I have missed anything, just let me know. So before going to uh, the later part of the things that I had to cover, which is backend development, I'll just announce that we are bringing in SD Bootcamp again in October. It's starting in mid-October. So it's there's a small change in how the SD Bootcamp runs now. So it will be 8 weeks, sorry, 8 months instead of 7 months. So I'll just give you a brief of what will be covered, and then we'll move back to backend development. So curriculum is the same. I and Sagar will be teaching it. So DSA part will be taught by me. Uh, Development part will be taught by Sagar. You'll be assigned a mentor with whom you'll get one-on-one personal mentorship. You'll be building projects. You'll be solving DSA problems. You'll be getting daily doubt resolution. Whenever you have a doubt, you can ask and it will get resolved. You'll get job referrals, resume review, contest, and mock interviews. So basically, if you are interested in this, just ping me and we'll have a discussion. I'm not going into the detail of this right now. So career support, and that's it about the AG Bootcamp. Just the announcement that I wanted to make. If you're interested in it, you can ping me on the WhatsApp number that is at the bottom. So coming to learning backend, so for backend, you can go ahead with any of the backend technologies or framework that are there. So basically, if you are using Java, you can go ahead with Spring Boot. If you're comfortable in Python, you can go ahead with Django. But if you are not comfortable with any of those, since you are already learning JavaScript for the front end, you are learning JavaScript, you're learning React. Why not use JavaScript in the backend as well? So how you can do that is by using Node plus Express. And for database, you can use MongoDB. If you are comfortable with MySQL, you can go ahead with that as well. So these things are okay. You can go ahead with anything. Does not matter a lot. Since we are talking about building personal projects. So Node plus Express forms the N and E of MERN stack. I'm sure most of you already know about it. So basically, whatever we are talking about is the MERN stack, which is MongoDB, Express, React, and Node. So most big companies actually use Java or Java-like languages like C Sharp or similar languages. They do not use Python or Node or Express. few companies might use, but those would be exceptions. It's mostly Java, Java-like languages for the backend, whereas most startups use Python or Node plus Express for the backend. Few companies use Java or Java-like languages as well. But why should we learn Node and Express, not, and why I'm not saying Java? Because building with Node and Express is very, very easy. Like in a very short amount of time, you can build a pretty good backend. You can build projects pretty fast. So that's why when you're building self projects, your aim should be to build projects as soon as possible and to learn as much as possible, learn about development as much as possible. So definitely you would want to pick something that will help you build faster. And also you are already in the JavaScript ecosystem. You are learning JavaScript for the front end, so pick it for the backend as well. But if you know Python and you are not very sure about JavaScript, pick up Django. If you are already comfortable in Java and not very comfortable with JavaScript, pick up Spring Boot. So I'm not saying you to pick up anything based on. I'm not saying you to pick up Express plus Node for all cases. Depends on your current level of comfort. But if you have to start from scratch, pick Express plus Node for learning and for your projects as well. And then coming to database, MongoDB is one of the most popular NoSQL databases. I'm sure most of you already have heard the name of it. So there are two types of databases, SQL and NoSQL. In case of NoSQL, MongoDB is the most popular one. And it's the M of the month stack. So, and why MongoDB? Because it's very, very easy to learn MongoDB and build stuff with that. And also it works pretty well with the JavaScript ecosystem. Like there are good packages that you can use to build uh, to use MongoDB uh, uh, with Node plus Express. So we'll talk about that as well. Any questions on backend, please ask on chat. Any questions on full stack, that's also fine. Please ask, I'll pick it up. Okay, I think there's the comment. I need to remove that. So I hope that nothing was missed here. Yeah. So for Express, go to the Express doc. So they have two links. First is getting started. It will just give you the basic idea of how Express works and what are the things that you need to know. Guide is how you will actually learn the different concepts in Express, like routing, middleware, and all of those stuff. That's something that you'll learn in the guide. So you'll get access to these links. REST API design, most like across the industry, REST API is how you build APIs. Like that's a convention that most companies follow when they are building good APIs. So learning how to build REST APIs can be very, very good for you. So I've created two articles. This is based on Microsoft's REST API guideline. So the basics cover the basics of REST API design. That is mostly enough for if you're just starting out. Best practices will get you much better at it. Then MongoDB. MongoDB's documentation is also good. They also have a MongoDB University where you can actually do a course on MongoDB. It's very basic, but good to start. Then Mongoose. Mongoose is basically a way to interact with MongoDB from Node plus Express. There's other ways also, but this is pretty good and used across the industry where the MERN stack is used. So this is what we cover in the bootcamp as well, MongoDB, Mongoose, and all of the things that I mentioned here. For session management, I don't have a very good resource. So basically, I created a sample MERN app where I've done session management as well. The GitHub link is here. You can follow that to learn session management if you want to. So these are the resources that I had to cover for backend. Now coming to projects, the most important part of full stack development or any kind of development that you're doing, building projects, that's the most important part. Remember that. So most people, what they do is they learn languages, technologies, get some certification, or just keep on watching tutorials. That's not going to help. Companies are not going to hire you based on that. Companies do not care about certifications. They just want to see your skills. They want to see your project demos and code. Whenever you are building something in your resume, in your LinkedIn, put the demo link somewhere they can go and actually view the website that you have created. Put the GitHub link where they can actually see your code, see your commits, see if you have followed best practices or not. So companies want to see that, and that's what you want to do as well. Uh, Basically, do not go behind certifications. Go for projects, build projects, and show demos and code. And one of the biggest problem that people face when they start development is tutorial help. So what students and what most people do is, you start a tutorial, you see that the other person is, let's say, building Google Keep clone. You see the person building it, you do the same thing, and then you go to the next tutorial where they are building an e-commerce website. You actually see what they are doing. You build the e-commerce website. Then now you open another tutorial and you keep on doing that. Now let's say if I ask you to build a rating and review website, you won't be able to build that because you are stuck in tutorial hell. You only know what the tutorial guy is doing, what the instructor is doing, what the instructor is building. You haven't learned anything. Have just learned to mimic the other person. So that's the tutorial hell. And most people are stuck in tutorial hell. So there are ways to get out of it, but make sure do not get stuck in tutorial hell while you are learning development. So this is something that happens with DSA as well for most people. So in our Discord, someone recently mentioned that we'll be sitting together, watching, picking up a lead code question, watching solution, and then coding it. So that's tutorial hell. That's what you are getting into. Do not do that. Do not get into tutorial hell. Otherwise, you are not going to learn anything. So basically, if you want to check if you are not in tutorial hell, is basically pick up any random project. If you are able to build it, you are not in tutorial hell. Otherwise, you might be. Some project ideas that we also follow in our bootcamp. First is the utility app and developer tools. So this is basically certain kinds of websites which developers use in their day-to-day job for getting stuff done pretty fast. So we have given a requirement here. It's free. Like all of this is free. You can go there. You can see the requirements and try to build the same. So how this will help is it will help you practice JavaScript. Like you will have to write a lot of JavaScript to build this because it's all logic, like different kinds of utility apps and developer tools where you are writing some JavaScript logic. It will also help learn development, help learn HTML, CSS, or React, whatever you are using. Developer profile platform. This is one of the best projects that I consider in our bootcamp that we do, because it helps you learn how to implement a given design. Like we have given this very specific design that you have to follow to build this developer profile platform. Why this is so relevant is because during your actual job, what will be happening is you will be given the design and you will have to build the exact same thing. Definitely, there would be some, like it's not that simple, but converting design to code to an actual website is not that easy. This will help you learn that. While you build this, you'll learn how to do that. So if you are able to do this, consider yourself a good developer. Rating and review website. This is basically something like IMDb or Zomato or Goodreads or similar websites or Pacto. Basically, where you can go and rate and review people or rate and review products or things like that. So this will help you learn full stack development, including DB design and session management. Basically, you need to create login flow, sign up flow, and all of those stuff so that someone can rate and review the products that you have listed on your website. Finally, the e-commerce website. If you can build this, you know software development. Like e-commerce lifecycle, basically almost all the companies that you interact with on a day-to-day basis is an e-commerce website. Workat.tech is an e-commerce website because we sell courses. Zomato is an e-commerce website because they sell food. Flipkart, Amazon, we already know they are e-commerce websites. Uh, Big Basket is an e-commerce website because they sell groceries. Almost all the websites that you interact with are mostly e-commerce websites, apart from a few other places where you are not spending your own money, where you are spending your time and attention, like social media websites. But wherever you are doing any transaction with money, that's an e-commerce website. So this is what you will learn while building this, and you'll learn a lot of software development while doing this. So we are not giving you the code for this. We are just giving you the requirements and you have to build this. So that's all of these links will point you to public links that are there on a website. You can follow that to create your own websites. So these are very, very good project ideas. If you can build this, you can almost certainly assume that you will be getting a full stack developer job. So this is all I had to cover regarding front-end, back-end, and projects. So I'll cover a bit of the testimonials that we received for the previous batch of SG Bootcamp, and then we'll open up to questions. So SG Bootcamp has been one of my best investment, both money and time-wise. So this is Akshit, who was in our first batch. Shubham, so it was a game changer for him. He's working at Cognizant right now, and he's joining his new company pretty soon. Ashad, so he was part of the first batch of bootcamp, and then we hired him. So we hired two people from the bootcamp as full stack developers in our team. So it was definitely a good experience for him. So coming to the outcome, so the highest base salary in the first batch was 25 LPA. This is the base salary. This is not the CTC. CTC is much higher, but I like to generally talk about base salary, not CTC. So 25 LPA was the highest base salary. The highest hike was 3.1x. Let's say the previous salary was X. The next salary was three times more than that. Average base salary for the people who completed the bootcamp was 13 LPA. This is the base salary. CTC is much higher. And the average hike was 2.4x. Let's say if someone started with, let's say, 5 lakhs, then their salary increased to maybe 12 lakh. So that's the average. uh, the actual salary hike was much higher. So 35 weeks commitment, 25 hours per week. Prerequisite is that you should know one language. The fees is 5,000 per month for 12 months through EMI, or you can pay upfront 60,000 rupees. If you have any questions, you can ping me on WhatsApp anytime and I'll be able to reply back to you. We'll set up a call before you enroll. So this is all about the bootcamp and the full stack development roadmap. You can find this presentation here. Arvind, if you can share the link in chat. And if you are interested in the bootcamp, you can enroll using this link. You'll get all of these in the slides whenever you want to view it. You can. So you can access it here. The links is in the chat. If you want to get updated with whatever we are doing, you can subscribe to our free WhatsApp newsletter, workat.tech/subscribe, or you can ping on the number that you see here at the bottom. Uh, you can follow me on LinkedIn. Thank you. So I'm open to questions. I'll pick up the questions that are already here, and then uh, you can keep on asking questions, and I'll pick it up. We have a lot of time in hand, and we can do a lot of questions. So let me start from the beginning. Uh, I want to know if someone knows Python and want to build project for placement, then is it necessary to learn full stack dev? No, it is not necessary to learn full stack dev. But the thing is, the thing that you will be building with Python will be a backend application, right? When you are building a backend application, you will be able to create APIs and all of those stuff. But will the interviewer use your API just to see what you have built? They are not going to do that. So having a front end helps. Like if you want to be a backend heavy person, just learn basic HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and start building small front end for the backend APIs that you are creating. That should be enough. So right now, even if you want to become a backend developer, having a bit of front end knowledge is required because that will help you demo your projects. What also talk about which is more in demand for backend dev like Spring Boot or Java or Node. So basically, as I mentioned, companies care about whether you know how to develop stuff or not. These technologies do not matter a lot. Like demand is for developers, not for Spring Boot developers or Java developers or Node developers. It's for software developers. If you can build stuff, you are a software developer. So that's what companies are looking for. That's what pays the most as well. Like if you are becoming a Spring Boot developer, Java developer, Node developer, you are not going to pay. You're not going to get paid a lot. But if you are a software developer who knows how to develop stuff and can switch languages or can switch frameworks as required, that's what will get you paid the most. Best websites to get fresher job in front end or full stack or back end, angel.co. Angel List has a lot of startups, so that's the best website where you can go to get a job. But you need to have the skills because startups hire solely based on skills. A bit of DSA for sure, but it's mostly skills. So one thing that I forgot to mention was what are the other things that you need apart from development? It's data structures and algorithms, core CS, a bit of system design, a bit of design principles, and knowing how to interview. Interviewing is also a very important skill. Many people get rejected solely because of that. So my initial set of interviews when I was a fresher, I got rejected solely because of my interviewing skills, which I improved further, and I was able to get into the companies that I worked at. But I was technically strong, but interviewing skills was what was setting me back. So that's also very important. How many projects should one build to get comfortable with JS and CSS? Maybe a couple of projects should be fine, but the project should be JS heavy or CSS heavy if you want to build comfort with that. So utility apps or developer profile is a very good project for that. Do we need to learn advanced JavaScript to learn React? No, you do not need to learn advanced JavaScript to learn React. If you know how to use JavaScript as a language, if you understand DOM and events, if you understand async JavaScript, you can learn React. I haven't covered advanced JavaScript in this entire slides. You do not need to understand advanced JavaScript to get your first job. You can learn that on the job whenever required. Backend developer versus big data developer, definitely backend developer. Most of the jobs are there in full stack development, front end development, and backend development. Big data developer, like not many jobs are there, so uh, do not go into that unless you are very interested in it. So as Vasim mentioned, like you can do any projects, not necessarily web dev. I recommend web dev just because most of the jobs are in that, so doing that might help you a lot. Do we need to practice problem solving for full stack development interviews? For most product based companies, yes. So I found class based component difficult as compared to functional component. How do I master? I think React docs should help you. Struggling in JS, any tips? Build the utility apps. That will help you get better at JS. Need to learn SAS or less? No. You can do it once you get your first job, first SG job. What about API? Do we need to learn that? Yes, I covered that. So just go through this REST API design that will help you give an edge over others. It's not necessary to know how to build good APIs, but if you want an edge over others, learn REST API design. Anyway, you need to know how to build APIs if you are doing backend development. Will the recording be available? Yes, it will be on the YouTube channel. Uh, Same question, like considering job opportunities and compensation, both backend development for sure. Any prerequisites for bootcamp? You need to know how to code either in C++ or Java. If you can write for loops, if condition, and functions, that's enough. That is enough to get into the bootcamp. What are the topics in Node Express to build almost every popular web app? Routing and middleware. Those two are the most important things in Express. Django is also pretty fast to build projects. Like if you are very comfortable in Python, Django is also a pretty good option. It's just the comfort level. Like initially, I was very comfortable in Java, so Spring Boot was the default choice for me. Now I'm very comfortable in JavaScript, so Express is the default choice for me. So it totally depends on you. But if you are starting from scratch, I would suggest Express because you're anyway going to learn JavaScript. Going depth into CSS is good, or just learning basic and move to JS? Learn the basics, start using it. It's just that you should understand what you're doing. Just randomly copy pasting won't be enough. Understand what you're doing with CSS, and that should be good enough. You can learn while you are building stuff. So one thing that I would like to mention is that I am also still learning CSS. I know a good amount of CSS, but still I am learning CSS. I am sure people with 10 years of experience also are still learning CSS. So depth, you can go into any depth, but just understand the structure and know how to use it. And if required, how to Google stuff whenever required. Startups have DSA around. Many startups do, many startups don't. So you'll have to figure out if you do not want to learn DSA, then you need to figure out which are those companies that do not have DSA around. But in general, by default, assume that there would be a DSA around, and so better to spend some time on it. Basics of deployment, CI/CD, AWS will be covered in the course. CI/CD, AWS won't be covered. Deployment will be doing on Heroku and Netlify. Does building projects with CRUD operation add more value in resume? To start with, yes. Once you have built comfort with doing CRUD operations and building projects out of it, then start adding more features if you have the time, because that will make you stand out compared to others. So for backend, how to strengthen DBMS knowledge? It's mostly comes with practice. Like, just if you understand the theory well about normalization and all those stuff, if you're using SQL, then understand the theory well, and with practice you will get the hang of it. If you are doing NoSQL, then just start. Maybe go through the docs to understand how to design well. MongoDB has some documents on how to design MongoDB schema well. You can go through that and learn. Uh, so the link is there in chat. You can go through it. So I'll open it again if you want. How many projects should be there in resume does not matter. If you have a very good single project, that's also enough. If you have decent projects, 2 to 3 or 4 of those might be very, very helpful. MySQL instead of MongoDB will be good. Yes, if you are comfortable with MySQL, go ahead with it. Not a problem. We also use MySQL at workat.tech. Doing direct internship will help me in getting better with Mun. Yes, it will definitely help you get better with Mun, but who will give you internship without any development background? So things were different 4 to 5 years ago because there was no competition as such. But right now the competition is very, very high, and that's why you need to have the skills before getting an internship. Doing unpaid internship like Spark, Let's Grow More is good. I think you're talking about training programs. Uh, Training programs on technology is not a good idea. Training programs on learning, development, or DSA or things like that might be a good idea. But on technology might not be a good idea because companies do not hire you based on technology. They hire you based on your problem solving and development skills. Uh, I'm doing internship which will turn into full time. I'm currently working on Vue, and so stay with it. That's a good idea. Like if you already know Vue and Spring Boot, that's a good idea. Maybe later on, if you move to some other company, if they are using React or Node.js or anything, you should be pretty like you should be easily able to move to that. It's good to start with Vue and Spring Boot, not an issue. So Arvind mentioned the Discord channel. You can join it if you haven't already. We have close to 1,000 members already, and it's pretty active. So you can get help there as well. Like I'm also pretty active there. So if you ask any questions, you would highly likely get a reply from me for any of your doubts. Uh, how can the people working in some service-based companies attend bootcamp? They might mess up with working hours, right? Is there any alternative for those? So the classes would happen from 9:30 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. It's created considering working professionals being the primary audience of the bootcamp. So 9:30 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. for whom and all it will be good to take bootcamp, like fresher or 2 years experience or five. So if you have 5 years experience, I would recommend you not to join, because most likely you won't be completing the bootcamp, which we do not want. But if you have less than 3.5 years experience, it would be a good idea for you to join. So someone with 3 years experience just got a so basically they got an SD2 offer starting from SD1. So for 3 years experience also, it's a good idea to join. For freshers also, it's a good idea. So even if you are a first year student, you should join. In my opinion, it's just a it's just that it's a paid program and not everyone might prefer it, but it can boost your career a lot if you want to. How can I learn to build PWA? Just go through the documentation of PWA. I think Google has a pretty good documentation on that. Axios or fetch to call API does not matter a lot. Right now, we use KY fetch in our code base because it's better than fetch in a way, and it's also much smaller than Axios. So that's a trade-off that we have taken, and KY fetch is what we use. So the problem with fetch is basically error handling is an issue with that. Like it does not throw an error in case of non 2xx. uh, how to be better at designing the architectures of the project we build. It comes with practice and also learning. So if you're talking about the backend architecture, go through company engineering blogs. That will help you learn that. So just search for engineering blogs, workat.tech. You will get a pretty good article on the best engineering blogs of the different companies that are there. So that can be a good way to learn backend development architecture. Which one to do first, building projects or DSA? Which project will be good to showcase? The projects that I mentioned will be good to showcase. Doing what you can do any of these first. Does not matter a lot. So in our first two bootcamps, we did development first, then DSA. In the third bootcamp, we are doing DSA first and then development. Heroku doesn't allow to store static files in the server. Why won't it? Like it does. So basically, your entire code base is there, and you can serve the static files from your server that you have created, from the backend server that you've created. Many JDs say that we need to be strong in HTML, CSS. What is the depth of CSS here? The strong keyword refers for entry-level jobs. You know, you need to understand the structure of the CSS rules that are there, and maybe understand how to apply or what to search whenever you need something. If you know those, then you can consider yourself strong in CSS. So when everybody is doing full stack development, you need to know that there are so many product based company jobs that are there, but the amount of effort that students are putting is so low that even if you build a few full stack projects, you will be in the top 1% or top 2%. So like if you are doing projects, you can easily get a job. What happens in front end, back end, full stack interview in startups? Do they give any website or just build? Generally, what happens in the interview is that there's a UI machine coding round where you are given 1.5 hours to 2 hours, and you are given a very small project that you have to build in that time. So mostly companies will expect you to do in HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Some companies will allow you to use a library as well, but you need to know how to build that in such a small amount of time. What startups expect from a fresher who are applying for a full stack development profile? They need to know that you know how to build, that you can start development from the very beginning. Maybe not the first week or first 2 weeks, but after that you need to be able to build stuff. What is SD Bootcamp? What are the contents? So you can go to workat.tech and click on Bootcamp. You will land upon SD Bootcamp. I've covered everything there. If you have any doubts, you can ping me on my WhatsApp number. What is the cost of the bootcamp? In India, it's 60,000 rupees. Outside India, it's $1,000. When is the bootcamp starting? It's prospective date is 18th of October. Basically, mid October is when we are starting it, and enrollments are starting today. Can I learn Java Spring without learning anything on frontend? Yes, definitely you can. But again, the thing that I mentioned before, how will you make the interviewer or the company go through your API? They are not going to test it on Postman or anything. So having a basic idea of frontend might help you demo your projects. I've just started my career in QA, and if I join Bootcamp now, I'll have an experience of 1 year in QA by the time I complete Bootcamp. Can I, at that moment, can I switch to full stack development? Yes, you definitely can. Like companies are looking for skills, but it's just that you will be joining as a fresher, as an SG1, which I think is what you're expecting as well. So I don't see any more questions. If there are more questions, please ask it on chat. Mentioning one thing again, tomorrow we are doing a resume review session, live review session on YouTube. You can submit your resume on our website. Arvind, can you share the link again if possible? So Arvind will share the link again. I'll post it here. Uh, so you can submit your resume there. I'll review it tomorrow on the YouTube channel. So I won't be able to pick up all the resumes. I'll try to pick up different kinds of resumes so that I can give a good idea of what are the changes that you need to make in your own resume. So post it there. If not tomorrow, maybe in 2 or 3 days, I'll be doing another session. Your resume might get selected that day, but definitely we are doing resume reviews pretty soon. So this is the link. You can submit it here. Just note that this will be done on YouTube live. So make sure that you hide your personal details if you don't want it to be public. Hide your number, hide your email address, and then submit your resume. How to write ATS resume? I'll cover it tomorrow. Will workat.tech provide referrals? Yes, if you are performing well in the bootcamp, if you are completing the bootcamp, you'll get referrals. How long is the bootcamp? It's 8 months. So if you're not interested in full stack development, there's the interview prep bootcamp as well, which is of 15 weeks. So you can take that as well. So 15 weeks plus 5 weeks of recorded content. 15 weeks live plus 5 weeks of recorded content is there in the interview prep bootcamp, which I'll announce pretty soon in the next few days. How can I see jobs in full stack development? Everywhere I see they ask for one. Angel.co is where you should go to. There are a lot of freshers job there. What are the timings for classes for bootcamp? It's 9:30 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. Do I need to share resume PDF or JPGs? Enough. You need to share PDF. No docx, no JPEG. Only PDF is what the website will accept. So the way to submit is only through this link. Do not send it to me personally because that won't be taken up. Only the links, only the resume submitted from here is what I'll pick up. How much is the cost of interview prep bootcamp? It will be 35,000, but it will not cover full stack development. How many people will be there in the bootcamp? Not yet decided. Last two batches we had 35, but right now we can scale it because we had a lot of learnings and we have implemented it in the second batch. Now whatever learnings we have, we'll implement in the third batch as well, so we can scale this time. But the numbers are not clear as of now. Yes, the interview prep bootcamp will cover DSA, and the live sessions will be on OOP and DSA. The recorded content will cover core CS, system design, and design principles. And also there will be mock interviews, there will be contests, there will be time tests, and a lot of different stuff in both the bootcamps. So the SD bootcamp covers both full stack development, DSA, core CS, system design, design principles, machine coding, mock interviews, contest, time test, everything that you need to get your first job. Even if you have a job and you want to get a SG job at a product based company, this is for you. And as Arvind mentioned, even though the batch would be might be bigger, but there will be smaller study groups so that you can interact with each other, help each other out. There will be doubt resolution available through our side as well, but helping each other out will help you a lot in debugging. So we'll be having smaller study groups inside the bootcamp. So this is an interesting question. Is full stack and SG job profile same? Not necessarily. SG job profile might be a full stack developer's job. It might be an Android developer job. It might be a front-end developer job. It might be a backend developer job. It can be anything. SD is just a generic software developer who can do whatever is required of them in development. Generally, companies ask you to specialize in one of those fields, but in general, you can assume that it could be anything. Generally, the job description will be able to make it more clear. Okay. Uh, So I'll share the link of the slides again if you want to access it. Uh, Alvin, can you share it? I think I've lost it somewhere. Okay, I got it. So this is the link of the slides. You can access it here. It's also available in chat. Arvind, if you can post it again. Yeah. So Arvind has posted it again. You can access it from here. I'll also add it to the video description so that you can access it later. Can a front-end dev become a SDE after a few years? Definitely yes. You can become one, but you'll have to upskill yourself for that. How many days will the bootcamp take? It will not take days, it will take months. So it's a 35-week bootcamp. Like, because we are covering everything that will get you a high paid job, so it requires you to spend some time on it. So if you see the stats, 13 LPA was the base salary for everyone who completed the bootcamp. 2.4x average height, 25 LPA high salary. So this would require time and effort from your side. So that's why it's a 35-week bootcamp. We'll be covering everything that is mentioned on the website. I'm currently working as a big data developer. Shall I switch to backend or frontend or stick to it? If you're good at it, stick to it. Because if there's less competition, because there are few jobs, that's true, but the competition is also low. So if you are very, very good at it, stick to it. But if you want to be safe, backend or frontend might make more sense because the amount of job there is pretty high. Is it possible for analysts to become SDE? Definitely yes. It's just that if you have the skills, you can start as a fresher SDE 1 at most product-based companies. But you need to have the required skills for that. Okay. Any other question that I'm missing here? So if I didn't pick up your question, please put it again so that I'll. So Mahesh, initially we were doing pilot, and that's why we were giving it at a much lesser rate. If you look at the other bootcamps, it's mostly 2.5 lakhs, 2 lakhs, or something like that. We are still charging much less than that. We are putting so much effort in this. 8 months, so many mentors would be there, so many doubt resolution experts would be there. We'll be spending all of our time on this. So definitely, I think this is what we can charge for that. So when is the enrollments open? It has started today. We have already got our first enrollment. I'll need to check if we have got more or not, but we have already got our first enrollment. When will the interview prep bootcamp start? So, in interview prep bootcamp is a subset of the SG bootcamp. So both of them will start at the same time. So the SG bootcamp is divided into three parts. First is DSA plus OOP. Second is development. Third is core CS and all the different interview prep stuff. So the interview prep bootcamp will have the first part and the last part. Last part is available as recorded videos. Doubt resolution will be there, everything will be there, but it will be recorded. First part, the DSA part is live, which will be going on with the HD bootcamp itself. Is there any guarantee for job? No. there's no guarantee because it's not a very simple bootcamp. It's a very difficult bootcamp. You have to put in 25 hours every week for 35 weeks. It's a difficult bootcamp to complete. If you're not completing that, how can we guarantee a job? So put in the effort and you'll yourself know if you're right to get a job or not. If you are completing the entire bootcamp, no one can stop you from getting the job that you want. So it's so much things are getting covered. It's so heavy. You can almost be 100% sure that you will get a job after completing the bootcamp. Freelancing versus job in a product-based company, I am very against freelancing because there you are selling your time and you can get paid one is to one. Basically, the amount of time you put, that's based on that you will be getting money. In a job, you are you are producing exponential impact. Like a small change that you do can impact millions of people. So there you are putting exponential impact, and so always go for a job. Do not go for freelancing unless you need money right now. If you need money, if you have financial obligations right now, you might have to do freelancing. But thinking about the long term, try to get a job at a product based company. Any other question? I am open for 5 more minutes. After that, we'll end the session. Is there any option of paying the fee after getting a job like ISA? No, we are not doing ISA because you might have seen bad instances of how ISA is not good for students. So we are definitely not going to do ISA. So we are putting 100% effort into it. You also need to put your 100% effort into it. If you are doing that, uh, definitely there's a job for you. Again, as I mentioned, there's no job guarantee, but you can see whoever has completed the bootcamp, what's the stats. You can see and you can decide for yourself. Do year gap after graduation matters in getting jobs? Yes, it does. But if you have the required skills, not so much. But definitely it has some impact. Any other question? How can I see transparency in the stats? So you can ping me, I will share the data with you. It's just that I cannot name people who got which kind of salary because that will be a violation of their privacy. Uh, so I can give you individual numbers as well if you want to. It's just that I cannot share you the exact person name with the exact salary details. I'm placed at product-based company. I don't know anything on development. What should I learn before joining company? Just learn the basics of development. When you join the company, you will definitely get to learn the other stuff. So if you are already at a product-based company, then just follow whatever you get to learn after joining. For now, just learn the basics. So whatever the free resources are mentioned here, just go through them, get a basic idea of all of these things. I'm 31 and willing to switch career to IT. Will there be any issues because of my age? Definitely, there will be issues, not because of your age, because of your experience, but still better than not doing anything. So, if you want to switch your career to software development, then definitely try it out, because if that's what you want, you can definitely achieve that. There are companies which are looking just for skills, so there are enough companies that do that. Should I join service-based startup or product-based startup? If you have an offer from a product-based startup as an SD, join that. If you don't have an offer as an SD at a product-based startup, join a service-based startup as an SD. Prefer SD, prefer a product-based company after that. So I'm assuming that you want to become a software developer in the long term. Any other question? If not, then What will be the disadvantage in service-based startup? I have already mentioned that in my previous live session. So you can go through that. I have talked about product-based companies versus service-based companies, product-based startups versus FANG. I have covered it in detail. You can go through that. There's an article as well which I have written on the same thing. Prefer to do it, if you prefer to read, you can go through that as well. So you can find it on workat.tech/journal. I'm sharing the link here. So you can find it here. Okay. So thank you everyone. If you have any questions, okay. So last question: are you doing work at full time or doing it with job? I'm doing it full time. I'm doing it full time for the last 1.5 years. Okay, let's take some quick questions. What are the disadvantages of front end development? I don't see any disadvantage. Uh, is deployment and scaling of web apps covered? No, it's not covered. It's not required for your first SD job. You can learn that on your job, or if you're not getting that on your job, there are other programs for that, like the web architecture program that Chirag has started on our website. How can I switch to backend while working as front end? Learn backend development, learn DSA, and build projects using both front end and backend because you already know front end, so that will help you do that. No cost EMI on select cards only. While you start the payment process, you'll actually see the list of offers which covers all the cards that are there. So there are around 12 or 13 banks which are providing the EMI option. So you can select any of them. So major ICICI, HDFC, Access, City, all of those are there. But it's credit cards. So this is the article that I was talking about, product-based companies versus service-based company. You can go through it. So thank you everyone. I hope you found the session helpful. If you want to join HD Bootcamp or want have any questions on that, you can ping me on WhatsApp. The numbers right there in front of you. Uh, if you like the session, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so that you can get updated about whatever we are bringing in. So we are going to create a lot of technical content, non-technical content in the near future. So I hope that you'll enjoy that. Thank you everyone. Good night.